Well, welcome back, More Than Work listeners. This is the start of season 2. So, season 1 was really the realization of something that I had been wanting to do for quite a long time. I used to be a podcaster years ago, and it is really great to be back and to be doing something totally different than I was doing before, with just interviewing different guests who talk about their work and their life outside, or maybe their work life, if that's what's really fulfilling them. This season, I've already recorded 7 episodes as of now, and that's a lot different than what I was doing last season. Last season, I was recording and publishing even sometimes the day after I recorded, and it was really hectic, but I had to think about what works for me normally. And in my day job, I operationalize things, and I have processes, and I have deadlines, and everything runs a little bit better. So I decided to apply that to my podcast, and I feel like it's going to be a little bit less hectic. So let's see. I'll have to assess that and see if that prediction's right. It's kind of like people who go and look at their New Year's resolutions a little bit later and don't follow them. So hopefully I'm sticking with this better than I'm sticking with my resolutions. I do have one correction from last season. In the Fun 5, I asked coffee, tea, or neither. And I said in, I think, the last episode of the season that no one had said tea. But Shawnee Badger, my very first guest, said tea, and I had completely forgot. So I have a listener and a good friend out there who has a very good attention to detail, and she realized that, so I wanted to put that correction out there. It's okay to admit we make mistakes, guys. So don't worry if you do, and that's one I made for sure. So this season, like I said, we have a lot of awesome guests coming up. I have 2 comics. One's a virologist and one's the head of public relations for a company. I have one of my close friends, and really who I consider a mentor. He's going to be on the show. I have my first educator, and she's also an advocate and active in the union, and a former, not a former high school friend. She's a friend from high school. So we were formerly in school together, I guess is what I should have said. And I have someone who's an entrepreneur and a CrossFitter and a coworker of mine in my day job. So that's the first time I'm having a coworker on, I believe, too. A lot of firsts here. And we're going to have a head of a nonprofit, founder of a nonprofit, really. And then we have our first guest, who this week is a chocolate maker and entrepreneur. And I'm really excited for you to listen to her. We had some really hard things happen in the U.S. I'm in the U.K., as I've said. And by the way, welcome. For those who haven't been here before, my name's Robbie. I'm the host of More Than Work. Welcome. I'm an expat living in England. I've been in England for a year, in London specifically. So basically, I spent COVID here, and I'm hoping to spend some non-COVID time here soon. But I'm American, and I am watching what happened last week from afar, and really just from a computer screen in my flat in London, and sitting at my computer and actually sobbing in front of my computer was really hard. And I think a lot of people were saying last week, and I'm talking about the riots at the U.S. Capitol, and I don't think it matters what political party someone's in right now. If you're listening, you probably were deeply affected by what happened there. And if you weren't and you don't agree with this, that's all right. That's your opinion. You can start a podcast and talk about it there. But this is important for me to talk about here. I sobbed. I first went to Washington, D.C. when I was in 8th grade. It was a dream come true. I was already politically active then as a kid. And my mom somehow and dad, pulled money together and sent me to D.C. My best friend, who's still one of my best friends now, and I got to go. A teacher who I'm friends with now too, was there. And that was really special, just to even reflect with her a little bit last week. But I remember the first time I saw the Capitol. The first time I saw the Capitol, my eyes welled up. I was a kid, but I really loved our government. I used to watch C-SPAN and watch all the votes, and this was when the graphics were really bad. It wasn't like cool moving graphics back then. It was just this kind of table with no grid lines on C-SPAN, and it would say yay, nay, I think abstained or didn't vote, and it would say the Republicans and the Democrats, and that was it. And independents or no party, I guess. But it was a very basic table, and they would say who voted for what, and I would watch that. And so when I saw the Capitol, it really impacted me, and that trip impacted me greatly. One thing I want to do is serve in my life. I hope that this podcast, in a way, is an extension of that desire to serve others. So watching that last week from afar, which I would have been afar anyway. I wasn't going to be in Washington, D.C. that day, I think, in any universe. Was really painful, and I sobbed several times. It wasn't even like a nice cry. It was like a pretty bad one. And I got very angry and very hurt. I think it was really more hurt than angry. And then I had to record a podcast, and I had to edit, and I had to do all my normal stuff while I was watching this happen. And it just kind of made me think a lot about how, these things that happen and impact everyone, but somehow don't really change what we do day to day, are interesting. I don't know, though everyone was impacted by it, was anyone changed by it? Did anyone change what they did last week? Did anyone change how they communicated with others? I did. I was aggressive last week. I was aggressive online with other people. I was so angry. And I just want to talk through that here, just because it's a place I can, because maybe this will resonate with someone. I think the lesson from last week shouldn't be to be more aggressive and more angry at people, but it should really be to think about the impact of our words and what we say, because words were said that led people to violence. And I don't want my words to lead people to violence or lead people to feel badly or to feel badly about themselves or the community they live in or people around them. And after I was done reeling and kind of spinning out, I realized that, I needed to record my intro to season 2, and I needed to talk to people and have elevated conversations. And I wasn't going to be able to do that if I went in angry. And I actually didn't plan to say all this just now. So just so you know, I was done. Actually, I thought I was done talking when I just talked about my guests for this season, but then this happened. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it in. I hope it's not a mistake to do so. I hope some of this rambling and ranting helps someone, or if it doesn't, it helped me a little bit to talk through it. But I guess just we need to think about our words and the words we use and what our intention is with them, including me. And especially me, I'd say. I know exactly what I say and do in different situations. I'm really hopeful about what's going to happen in the U.S. this year. Listening to my guests from both the U.K. and U.S. and Argentina. That's another thing. I have another international guest besides U.K. or U.S. I think there's so many good people, and there's so many people doing awesome things and just trying to help, trying to improve their lives and others' lives. And I think one reason I like doing this podcast is it just gives me hope, and it encourages me to keep striving for what are my dreams and my goals. And I hope you take that from it. I've gotten feedback that people feel bad about themselves listening because they feel like they haven't done anything and these guests have done so much. And that's not the intention. The intention of the podcast is really just to tell stories, to make us all realize and see that life is more than just our job title and more than work. And if you're feeling that way, feel free to email me about it, and I'll talk to you about what you can do and maybe what will bring you fulfillment, or talk to someone else about it, or maybe just take that step. Maybe you've been thinking about applying for a new job, or you've been thinking about volunteering somewhere, or you've been thinking about even just reaching out to a friend that you hadn't in a while, and that's how you would do something outside of work. But maybe take that energy and that feeling from feeling bad about yourself and just turn it into action and turn it into doing something. Or, yeah, like I said, reach out to me. I'm happy to help too. I think I've talked long enough. I don't know how long I've talked, but I'll find out in a moment when I check the time. Thank you for being here. Thanks for bearing through all this. And you're going to hear some intro music, and then we'll go into the first episode of Season 2. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you can, leave me a review. I would really appreciate that. We had over 1,000 listens last season, so I can't wait to see what this season brings. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here with More Than Work. Welcome to More Than Work, the podcast reminding you that your self-worth is defined by more than your job title. I'm Wajeeha, an IT project manager, comedian, nonprofit volunteer, and sometimes activist. Every week, I'll chat with a guest about pursuing passions outside of work or creating meaningful opportunities inside their workplace. As you listen, I hope you'll be inspired to do the same. Well, welcome back from the holidays and welcome back to More Than Work again. This is our first episode after the holidays, but actually we're recording it before the holidays with someone who just went through their major busy season. So I have the founder and chocolate maker at Chocolateeha in the United Kingdom, Wajeeha Hussein. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. So maybe just first introduce yourself to the More Than Work audience.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Wajeeha. I currently live in Bristol, and I'm the founder and chocolate maker of a company called Chocolateeha. So I guess my background is, funny enough, is like more sort of IT and engineering related. I did a degree in computer science and absolutely loved creating software, and then moved into working for Nissan for about 8 years. So I have a very completely different background. And so I worked for Nissan for about 8 years after I graduated, and then I had enough and then left and then started up Chocolateeha. So we launched Chocolateeha in 2017, and we launched it in Newcastle. That's where I used to live beforehand. So we're on the third year running this year, and yeah, we're going to be 4 years old next year. It's crazy. But yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. Me in terms of like as a person, I'm a bit crazy. I'm really creative. I'm a bit wild, and I think that's why I was more suited to starting my own business. And I have an obsession with chocolate, an absolute obsession. And I think, yeah, that's why I founded Chocolateeha, because I wanted to have a continuous supply of chocolate. So yeah, that's me.
That's great. And and you're talking to someone who's spent about the last, I'd say 18 years in software development, not as a developer, but as a project manager.
No way.
Love to hate, basically.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
Yeah,
no one wants
absolutely.
a project manager because they're going to tell you what's going on. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I can relate to just being done, because all the projects, they go a certain way at some point, and you have to be able to say, oh, that's fine, and not feel bad about it, right? So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess when you made the decision to transition to chocolate, did you do it kind of part-time at first, or did you just go all in, straight cut over, not doing this anymore, I'm doing that?
So I think the transition of me turning into an entrepreneur is actually probably more relevant. In terms of what I wanted to do, that came really naturally. So I guess when I was working at Nissan for the whole time, I was really enjoying my job. I loved what I did, and it was a good lifestyle. But at the end of the day, I was working for someone else. I was doing things for someone else. I was working crazy hours. I wanted this sort of satisfaction, and the feeling of achieving something or making an impact. And every single day, I'd go into work and work crazy hours, but I didn't really feel that sort of satisfaction. Mm-hmm. So I felt myself transition into, well, not transition, I guess I always had those sort of elements in me, but the realization of all of that started to sort of come into play. And with working in the automotive industry or any sort of corporate job, you're always going to have a glass ceiling. So even if you're at a certain level, you'll always be reporting to someone. So I knew that, I will probably end up leaving and doing something for myself. What I actually wanted to do was, I had no idea about. And I had some sort of idea that would be food related because I'm obsessed with food. I love food. So that was something that was going to happen, and also something sweet related. Um, but in terms of deciding the business, it actually just came to me one day. I was just sat thinking, oh, okay, so what problem would I solve for myself if I wanted to do something in business? What's the first thing I would do? And it was simply not make chocolate. It was create a product which is chocolate that I can eat every day. And I did some research to see if this was an actual possible thing, if chocolate wasn't just about, eating sweet stuff, if it was something else, it was something that could be incorporated into your diet. And I just found so many great things about cacao and where it comes from. I knew I was onto something. And then I spent probably about a couple of months doing a bit of research. But in terms of the decision that I'd made in terms of leaving my job, I probably had done that a year before. It was a matter of time of being ready in terms of creating a business idea, but also working out if it was a viable business, if there was, a potential customer base who would buy this kind of chocolate. So that sort of took 12 months. And I think until sort of like, I had to get all my sort of ducks lined up, so I had all of these ideas, but they all needed to sort of happen. And I also made my first bar of chocolate and then gave it to people and they loved it, and it was all of those sort of like moments where I was like, oh gosh, this is really proving this theory, and everything that I keep doing is going to make me realize that, this is something I need to do. So yeah, it happened. Yeah, probably, I'd say a couple of months just before I handed in my resignation. And I had this goal as well to kind of hand in my resignation before I turned 30. And it was just a personal goal, it had nothing to do with anything. But I just wanted to not be in this environment post 30 because it was like my next decade, and my next decade I wanted it to be something different. So I wanted that fresh start. So I handed in my resignation literally a couple of days before I turned 30. And then I went away for Easter break, and that was a moment. Obviously, I told the company I'd work for sort of 3 months, do a handover, but I was just thrilled that just doing that thing, and it was so liberating just saying that I'm going, I'm leaving. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and you guys, so one thing, so I'm American and a lot of the listeners will be American, so they'll probably be surprised by this, but you have to give like 2 or 3 months notice here, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think in some jobs with my contract, it was a month, but I had a very, very good relationship with everyone. And also I did love my job. I'm not going to lie about that. I had an amazing job. So I loved to do that. It was, in my interest to do that handover. And I've kept in touch with a lot of people as well. So it was sort of my choice to do that. And also spent about 3 months with people. Everybody knew that I was leaving. So I was able to have those conversations, and it was so interesting to get people's perspectives of a lot of people that have worked in the corporate world for pretty much all their life, to ask me, what are you doing with your life? So it made me even more happier and stronger because, I realized that I don't have a mindset of these people. It's their mindset is completely different. But it was also good to be challenged as well, because there was a lot of people that I respected, and they said, are you sure? You do realize you're not going to have a salary. You've been on a good salary for 8 years and you don't understand what it's like to not have a salary. So those things were really good. So it was a good wake-up call in those 3 months. But I knew that this decision was going to happen. That there was no going back. But a lot of my friends and family just sort of kept saying, oh, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? So it was good for me. It was good to be sort of challenged. But then I also had a time for closure as well. I needed that 3 months to say bye to everyone. So it was worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a benefit to being able to give notice and everyone know it. And a lot of times in the States, what'll happen is you'll give your notice, and it's usually because something happened. I mean, sometimes you move on to a new job, like, and it's good and everything's great. And sometimes it's really a hard thing where someone asked you to, or you
Yeah.
decided to, or whatever, because
Yeah.
of something. And then they say they don't want anyone to know for X period of time. And then on your last day, you maybe get to email people or
Right.
secretly set up drinks or something. So it's such a weird process
Yeah,
of
yeah.
no closure. Like, it's no closure. You just kind of go to drinks, and then after you've had a few, then you're telling everybody what happened. And then, so
You're just gonna deal with it, right?
yeah, and that's not even generally my experience, but others too, because I've been at those drinks and you get some good stories. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
so it's kind of, that is nice, and that's a mature way of looking at it. I like the idea too that people questioning you didn't really make you doubt yourself, but just made you answer the questions to kind of reinforce what you were thinking.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And these were people that are, they were close to retirement and are really respected. So having their opinion and their questions was kind of important, but also understanding that actually an entrepreneur mindset is completely different
Mm-hmm.
to a mindset of somebody who does a job for all their life and they don't want to do anything else. And there's no right or wrong here, obviously. It's just
Mm-hmm.
my way of living. That's how I choose to live. But one thing that I did realize is that my mentality had been drilled into thinking that this is what I wanted. And it's because, coming from an Asian background and, also seeing success defined as a stable job, a stable income, a house, a car,
Mm-hmm.
materialistic things is what defines success. And I thought that for, up until my sort of my 20s. And that switch happened gradually, but when it happened, it was like, wow, right, I get it, I'm never going to be like that, like them, and they're never going to be like me. And but at the same time, also like a lot of valid points as well, like actually realizing that I'm not going to have a salary, but would I prefer to be mentally happier and earn less with the thought of eventually having a salary that would match the salary that I got at Nissan, but that would be something I work towards. But actually, when I come back home every single day, I feel like I've made an impact, or I feel like I've made a change, or forget all of that. I feel happy.
Yeah.
That's more important, rather than for me. That's sort of what my realized my beliefs changed a lot. And I think that's so important as an entrepreneur as well. Not I don't think everyone's cut out for it. Just like not everyone is cut out to do the same job for every single day of their life. Just like being an entrepreneur, not everyone is cut out for it. And yeah, like I still have that every day. People do
Mm-hmm.
challenge me. People kind of say, "Oh, okay, so what's your financials like? What's your P&L like?" And I'm like, that's not that important to me. Yes, of course, I need to have a stable business, but the one thing that's important to me is that I'm making people happy. I'm me myself. I'm happy. I'm mentally happy. So that sort of foundation is really, really important. And that's why I did need to do a lot of work on myself before I left my job. So yeah, yeah.
And what about, so how many employees do you have right now? Because I know like one gets featured a lot on your Instagram, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
We, um, so yeah, we do have one employee. She was meant to be part time, but yeah, that didn't happen. She became full time very, very quickly. So we've had staff in the past, like on and off, but we've never had like a proper person. So this is our first staff member, and me. So there's just two people.
wow.
But yeah, I think as soon as you hire your first staff member, you realize, firstly, how did I do this all by myself? I don't understand it. And secondly, gosh, we need more people.
Yeah.
I, I need an assistant for Lena, and I needed an assistant for myself as well. So you kind of realize that actually, wow. And I think when you hire someone else as well, you take more work on. You
Mm-hmm.
definitely do. So then when you take more work on, you get more work. So um, I think hopefully in the next sort of year at least we'll be seeing more faces for sure.
So was it a hard decision to decide, okay, I need someone, and then also to know you had the right person to work for you?
Yeah. I think that was the most difficult thing in this business that I've ever done, in all honesty. And I think that's why in the past I've had people on and off, sort of on a temporary basis, because this is my little baby, and not everyone understands it completely. So to bring someone on board who has to understand your vision and your concept, but someone who can try and implement it, but also help you implement it, and also, push you and challenge you as well. So all of those aspects are impossible to get in one person. But I think I have been really fortunate. So it was just, I think, after the pandemic, I say after, not after, sorry, the first lockdown that we had in the UK, I was approached by her and she said she wanted to volunteer. And I was like, wow, of course, yeah, come and just watch and help. And she wanted to sort of get some experience. She was working already; she had another job, and she volunteered for 3 months. In that time, we both got to know each other. We both got to sort of understand each other. And at the end of it, I was going to hire someone, but she turned around and asked me what if I took the job, and you don't get that from anyone else. It was such a what I really admired about her is that she turned around and said, hire me. And she's been like exceptional. She's been so good, and I think I'm extremely lucky because she believes in my vision, and she understands. She sees that I graft. It's hard work. It's not easy, but she does the same thing, and she just gets on with it. But I have to say, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I think it's in this business, and yeah, the fact that she's still here and she's staying as well, which means that it's been a very good decision.
She's, I certainly this is the first time we're talking, but so I don't know you, but she's funny. I mean, she's doing this great stuff on Instagram that's really engaging, and I think it's a good brand thing too, right? Because
absolutely,
I think it's reflecting kind of someone who is disrupting a bit, right?
That's it.
I like it.
It's good for like people on my social media or anyone else to see, because they understand that we're not where we are serious about work, but most of the time we're really chilled out, we're having fun, and also someone other than me as well being on the Instagram, because obviously for a lot of people it gets boring, same face over and over again. So for a lot of people, and she has this lovely personality, and that's what shines through. And everybody, she's known by so many people. They always ask about her. When people send me emails, they say, how's Lena? So I love that. I love that she has come in and she's sort of done that, because it's helped the brand image a lot, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. So talking about your vision, saying she understands it. What I understand it to be is, that people should have chocolate every day. That's probably simplifying it too much. But what is your vision?
So basically is that it all really stems from that, but it's making chocolate accessible for people, and it's also sort of my misunderstanding of chocolate, and how I didn't understand it was when I was a kid. Chocolate was really restricted, so we just couldn't have it because of the strong history of diabetes, and lots of other sort of issues, heart issues and things like that. So we were allowed to have chocolate. And then I think one day my mum saw me salivating in front of a kid who was eating chocolate, and she was just like, you just look sad. And so then we were allowed one chocolate bar a day. So it sort of stemmed from that. And I got into my teens, I realized that, wow, I can do anything I want now. I can eat as much chocolate as I want. And I did. I ate so much of it. And my skin was horrible. I broke out like crazy. And I had, I put on so much weight. And it was on one side I was happy, but the other side my health was affected. And there was just so many issues related to chocolate. And then I gave up on it. And again, being obsessed with chocolate was something quite difficult to do. So when I realized that, I've got this problem to solve, it was also explaining to people that it isn't chocolate that's the issue, it's actually sugar. And hence why I have lots of other sugars that I use. I use coconut sugar, date sugar, maple syrup. I use a lot of unrefined sugars, and the normal sugar that I use as well is the unrefined cane sugar as well. So it's unprocessed. because my mission is to understand, for people to understand that it's sugar is the culprit and it's not chocolate. So there's the education side of things as well. But then aside from that as well, it's the amount of ingredients that gets put into chocolate, which, if you go to a supermarket, turn the back of a wrapper and you see about 50 ingredients that you just don't know what they are. And that's what I try to simplify as well, is that, we make the chocolate with maximum 6 ingredients, and in some cases even 3. So you know what's in there, and also the other thing as well is that you can eat one piece of chocolate and be satisfied rather than munching the whole thing. And I have to admit, I have done that several times with my chocolate as well. I have munched the whole bar, but I have no self-control. But I do find that with chocolate, the chocolate that I make, you don't need to eat as much of it to feel the satisfaction as opposed to sort of supermarket chocolate. So you've got sort of what I've mentioned. My mission statement is like eating chocolate every day, but also the education part of it, helping people understand that chocolate is accessible. You can eat it, if you wanted to. If you've got certain dietary requirements, you're diabetic, all those kind of things, you still can eat it. But also, I make it from the cocoa nib as well. So making chocolate from, I guess, as close as possible to the natural way, that's the best kind of way that you can make it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's it.
So, yeah, and just to prove your point, I'm holding the cinnamon latte bar, which is amazing. And it has organic Peruvian raw cacao butter, unrefined cane sugar, organic coconut milk, roasted coffee beans, ground cinnamon. That's it.
Yeah.
And what I like too, honestly, is that it has an expiration date that's within the foreseeable future, meaning that there is stuff in here that is natural versus preserved endlessly. Some chocolate bars, I guess I haven't studied or kept chocolate around long enough to ever hit the expiration date, but
yeah,
it does expire really. It's just like forever.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I did never ever want to use preservatives. And one of the things people ask me is, "Oh, what's your end goal? Do you want to be stocked in like Waitrose?" And actually, that's not my end goal, because if I was stocked in a supermarket, I would have to put a preservative in, because they wouldn't take a product that expires like within sort of 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal is not to use preservatives, because you'll find that once you buy chocolate, it doesn't last on the shelves for more than like a week or 2 weeks. It gets eaten. So why do I have to put a preservative in? So yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the health benefits of chocolate too that people might not be aware of?
So, well, if you eat cacao in its rawest form, so without sort of any sugar in, just the actual nib, it's meant to be good for you. So it's got a lot of sort of minerals in it. It's got lots of antioxidants in it, which are actually meant to give you like sort of a boost of energy, boost of sort of productivity. It's meant to be good for the brain. So back in the, I can't remember which century it was now, but when it was founded by the Mayans, they used to crush it and make a drink with it. It was like their Aztec hot chocolate. So they put hot water in it, put spices in it, and they would give it to the men to have in the morning before they went off for a hunt or chopping wood or whatever. So it's it was their version of like a boosting energy drink before they did something that was quite physically straining. So it's meant to do all of that, and a lot of people say that it's an aphrodisiac. So there's a lot of things, a lot of facts about chocolate improving your mood as well. So it meant it releases endorphins, which actually make you feel happy. So there's all those kinds of benefits. There's not a lot that's actually factually proven, but the only thing that I wanted to really know was, does it really contain antioxidants? Because antioxidants are great for cleansing your body. And I did an antioxidant test on my chocolate in 2017. It was really expensive, a couple of grand really, and I did it because I was on a mission to see if does it really actually contain antioxidants. And I tested a milk chocolate bar, which is about 40%, and I tested a 72% chocolate bar, Um, the 72% dark chocolate bar contained 4 times as much antioxidant than the same amount of goji berry.
Oh,
And
wow.
goji berries have a lot of antioxidants in. So when I saw the results, I was like, oh well, that's good to know. It doesn't make it healthy, but unless if you add sugar to it, or if you add lots of things to it, if you have it in its rawest form, then it's the
Hmm.
most healthiest. So I do have a chocolate bar, which is the raw chocolate range.
Hmm.
It's 72%. It's made with coconut sugar, maca powder, and yeah, and that is, I guess, the healthiest chocolate that you can find in my range. And yeah, 4 times as much antioxidant than goji berry. People that have eaten it, sort of customers, they eat it before they go for a bike ride, or like, swimming or anything like that, or hike. And they said that eating it actually makes them feel more productive, or gives them that boost of energy. So whether that's in their mind, but I know that obviously I've done the tests and there is more antioxidants, so it does work.
That's great. That's really
Yeah,
cool that you were able to do that too and just get that data
yeah,
anyway.
absolutely.
I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, what's been the biggest learning for you, maybe going from working for someone else to just working for yourself, and maybe even a perspective you got on, oh, that's why they were doing that. Now I see,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, well, I was found working in a corporate world that things were really, really slow. So let's say you had an idea, you wanted to make this sort of car. You'd go through a whole 3-year process of just the
Hmm.
concept. Um, but when you first start your business, you realize that you have all these liberations, and you think, oh, I don't have any boundaries. I can do anything I want. I can create any product I want. And one thing that I have to say is, you're kind of naive in that sense that, you start creating products, you take them out to market, you sell them, and you become in this sort of constant cycle of producing, selling, producing, selling.
Hmm.
And because I'm extremely creative, I get bored with creating the same product. So I'm constantly creating. Um, and there's one thing that, I learned in my corporate job as well, is that sort of having the stability of products, similar products, is really an important foundation to any business. Um, and I didn't understand that as much because, for me, like I said, I get bored with this doing the same thing. Um, but with Nissan in particular, there was a couple of cars which were just so outdated, but there was
Hmm.
there was a market for that. There was customers that would constantly buy it. And if we would make a change, the customers would complain, they would absolutely hate it. And that's one lesson that I think is really also important in sort of any business, whether it's small or big, is having this sort of stability in your business, or having a core range of products that are always on the website, that people continuously order and they're addicted to, and that is your loyal customer base.
Hmm.
So at the start, I was constantly not chasing, but I was getting a lot of sort of new customers, and it was because I was creating a lot of products. So every single time I create a new product, get rid of it, create a new product, get rid of it. So I just had new customers every month, or every few months. Um, and it's probably taken me probably 2.5 years to create a stable core range.
Hmm.
And yes, when I make that core range, I get bored because I could do it in my sleep. But this core range, people are addicted to, and they order it on repeat. And obviously, I don't understand why people do that, but because, like I said, I get bored with the one flavor. But there is a huge, huge sort of customer base of people that will like one flavor and they will just order it every single day. So that's something that I realized, and now I have that sort of stability in the business. But to ensure that I'm still creating, I kind of base it around the occasion. So, for example, Valentine's Day, I create like a limited range, and Mother's Day, Easter,
Hmm.
Christmas. So I'm able to create, but I try and keep sort of a record of all the sales, so what sold the most, and then based on that, I sort of work out trends, like trend. So every year trends change, like for flavors, and like one year you'll find people love white chocolate, the next year they're on to dark chocolate.
Hmm.
Um, so it's really important to have all that data, and I think as a small business, you don't sort of. For me, for sure as well, I didn't want to cling on to all of that data because that's all I did in my previous job, was constantly look at data, constantly look at trends. But when I actually did look at it, I realized, oh, that's really useful actually, because like, for example, for Halloween, this year, we launched flavor, which was nutty pistachio.
Yes.
And honestly, right, pistachio, I love pistachio, but it's not my favorite. I launched it because obviously pistachio looks like snot. So people loved it. I just don't get it. Why? I say to Lena, I don't understand the obsession. I don't get it. And it's a nice chocolate bar. It's not my favorite at all. But people are obsessed with it. So we launched it for Halloween, and then we took it away. The amount of messages I got every day. There was a couple of people that, they kept emailing me like, please, please, can you do it? I told them there's some left in the shop in Bristol. They went to that shop and they got
Oh
it.
my
And,
God.
they were that crazy for it. So when it came to Black Friday, when we were sort of rethinking, right, what should we do for Black Friday? We do something differently. I brought back some of the favorites, which was
Mhm.
Snotty Pistachio, put it on the website, went sold out in like 2 minutes.
Whoa.
And I'm just like, what? I don't get it. But that's something to sort of remember, is that, you have to remember what sells. Maybe next year that might not be the case, but you've got to remember what sells and take that through to, the
Hmm.
next month, do that again. So yeah, I'd say that's something that working in a sort of corporate environment has taught me. And yes, it's been extremely liberating not being stuck to, a strict routine of doing things. But at the same time, I'm glad I had that experience and I can sort of carry that forwards.
Sure. Yeah. And even if you think about being creative and wanting to create new things and that being important to you, but also what people want. I mean, if you think about concerts and comedy and stuff like that, and I do comedy on the side, and I'm very new at it, like a year and a half, but after a year, I'm still telling some of the same jokes and
Yeah,
kind of implementing them in different ways, but those are
absolutely.
the ones that work.
That's
And
it.
the thing that made me realize most was like, I've seen Elton John like 40 times, which is ridiculous. Okay. So that aside, I always look forward to the concert starting out with Funeral for a Friend, A Love Lies Bleeding. Like every time I want him to start with that. That's what I'm
Mm,
expecting. And I've heard
yeah,
the song, loads of times. And so I think it's just, that's how it is as a creative. You keep going with the stuff that works, but then you build on it on the side and create the new stuff for you in a way.
absolutely.
Right. So
Absolutely.
that
That's spot on.
helps.
Yeah.
Your core brand is your Rocket Man,
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
It's fine, right?
Exactly.
And you probably don't get why do they want to hear this still, but that's fine. Let them have the chocolate,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Sometimes you don't understand your customers, but if it works, you've just got to stick with it.
Yeah. Well, and what's your favorite flavor that you've created so far?
Um, I have to say that I am a massive fan of dark chocolate, and
Mm.
I think even today when I make white chocolate, I'll eat it, but it doesn't excite me. So it probably is the raw chocolate range still, um, and then after that, probably the peppermint, dark
Mm.
peppermint, because I love mint. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's kind of like I love all of the flavors, but that's something that I would eat every single day. I love it.
I think your creme brulee is amazing. However, I also think
Oh,
that I need to listen to your voice in my head saying you can only eat one piece and be satisfied because you should almost have a t-shirt with that or something. But
that's true. But I need to
um
be following that as well. So
I know. Well, that's the thing. It's like advice that none of us take.
exactly, yeah.
So, do you have any like advice or mantra that you maybe would like to share with people or that you end up coming to sometimes that you think is important?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for anyone starting in business, I think the most important thing I would say is it's hard work. And also another thing as well is that sometimes when you're having a bad moment, you're having a hard time, you need to sometimes realize that this is temporary. This year has been tough for us.
Mm.
And there have been moments, like twice this year, I've thought about quitting, which is crazy because we've had such a successful Christmas. I would never have had that Christmas if I had quit.
Mm.
And I never do I want to quit, but sometimes those thoughts come into your head. And you have to remember is do not give up, you know, with every small business, it takes time. We're not like, we don't have a lot of marketing spend. We don't have a lot of like budget to spend on getting our word out. So it takes a while for people to know who you are. So it's important to, remember not to give up. And there will be a lot of people that come in your way and say, that's not a good idea. Oh, I don't believe in that. And they will challenge you. It is good to have that challenge, but just don't ever forget what your dream is. And sort of let that encourage you every single day. I have a vision, I have a dream for this business, and I will keep chasing that until I'm there. And that's every single day I wake up, go to work, and that's the vision I think of. And it takes a lot of hard work, determination, resilience to make a business successful. And you don't need any special skills. All you need is your passion and enthusiasm and hard work to make a business successful. And anyone can do that, as long as you have those three elements in. So yeah, I would say hard work, resilience, and don't give up on your dream.
That's great. All right. So I have my last 5 questions are called the Fun 5, and they're just to kind of get to know you a little better and maybe have a little fun. So the first one is based on my wardrobe mostly, but what's the oldest t-shirt you have and still wear?
It's a really plain red t-shirt. Nothing exciting at all. It's just really baggy and really nice, and really comfortable. So I'm sorry, that's not a very exciting answer.
No, that's important though, that it's comfortable. And yeah, baggy. Like some of my t-shirts I have are from when I was, like 10 years ago, or even like 25 years ago, when I was definitely a smaller person, and it's still baggy on me. And I just don't know what fashion trends must have been that you can gain how much weight and still fit into your
exactly clothes. I love that.
Right? It's amazing. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wear my prom dress, but I can wear my t-shirt from then.
I love that.
All right. So one thing people are saying about 2020, and I might have to change this question next year, who knows, is that every day is like Groundhog's Day, right? It's just been all the same because we're all stuck at home. So in that movie, Bill Murray has I Got You, Babe by Sonny and Cher playing on the alarm clock every single morning. What song would you have on your alarm clock every single morning if it was really Groundhog's Day?
I have really bad taste in music. So, ooh. Do you know what? It's going to sound really sad, but probably something Bollywood.
Hey, that's great. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be something on the American Top 40.
There's a song, I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard any Bollywood song? But there's a song called Chaiya Chaiya. And it's just an upbeat song, but they're dancing on a train, on a moving train. And it's a really, I put it on when I sometimes need a boost of, let's say I'm working and I'm really struggling. And I just imagine people on a train dancing, and I think, well, if they can do that, I can do anything. So, I'd say something like that, something sort of upbeat, definitely.
That's a good way to wake up.
Absolutely.
All right. So coffee or tea or neither?
Coffee.
Coffee. All right. And do you take it any certain way or just black?
Frothy milk, I'd say, and sugar.
All right. Do you remember when was the last time that you laughed so hard you cried or just couldn't stop? What was going on?
Probably involved me falling, and falling over nothing, which is what happens all the time. Most of the time, my husband sees me on the floor and says, How did that happen? I said, I tripped over myself. So I'm extremely clumsy. And the worst thing is, as well, I'm the only one that's laughing. And he's just looking down. He's kind of what do I do with you? So probably, it rolls around me probably falling somewhere and just making a mess of myself and laughing my head off because I find myself so amusing. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Last one. What, I guess, but who inspires you right now?
Right now, it's a difficult year, I'd say, because I do find that there is always somebody that inspires me. This year has been really tough. But I would have to say, this isn't anyone in particular, but I think a lot of small businesses have actually inspired me this year. because there's been a lot of businesses that unfortunately had to close. But I've seen a lot of founders, and this is all through Instagram, that have actually been really amazing during COVID. And they fought and fought and fought really hard to make their business survive. So funny enough, yeah, my hero is probably watching a lot of small businesses get through COVID, and that's what's kept me going. I think without them and without their energy, I don't know if I would be in the same position as I am now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, small businesses have really inspired me this year.
That's awesome. And they are inspirational. And I've been trying to shop local more, and it's challenging.
Yeah.
It's so challenging not to just hit that buy now on Amazon,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
It's worth it. So hopefully people are carrying that into the year people will hear this in 2021, because it's so important to support businesses like yours and others.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. This has been super. It's really been fun talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, and everyone, we'll have links to Chocolateeha on the website and on the show notes, but check them out, especially if you're in England, because they're easier to get here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for joining me this week. You can find out more about our guest in the show notes. The music you're probably moving to by now is by Joe Mafia. Find him on Spotify. That's Joe, Maffia. And Rob Metke is responsible for our visual design. You can find him online by searching for Rob, Metke. Thanks, Rob. Let us know who you'd like to hear from, or about your own experiences defining yourself outside of work at More Than Work Pod on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Give us a follow. Or visit our website at rabiasaid.com. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening to More Than Work. We'll be back next week with another guest. In the meantime, while being kind to others, don't forget to be kind to yourself.